Hi, it's Nicole. So listen, I'm outside. I wanted to show you guys that I do get outdoors. I am actually on my way to an event, again, multitasking. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I was watching what is it called? A podcast. It is Kev on Stage and that chick Angel called Here's the Thing. And it reminded me of when you talk about something and someone clearly articulates all the things that it is that you were trying to say. That is this moment. So I wanted to share this video, these clips of their recent podcast where they were discussing Kamorley Simmons and her daughters pertaining to something that they posted regarding to Russell. Although the subject matter is different, it still applies to all that I have been talking about in terms of workplace bullying, harassment, intimidation, and how it is perceived by those who speak up on certain things, and how basically I just wanted to show some parallels. The parallels between what they were discussing about something that was totally different and what I have been talking about in terms of workplace bullying and harassment. So let's get into this video.
Over the weekend, Russell Simmons' ex-wife Kamorley Simmons aired him out on Instagram Live. Here's the thing, and we say this on this podcast specifically all the time. More than one thing can be true, right? For my life, Russell gave me a great opportunity that changed my life, right? Giving me that job at All Def gave me a great opportunity, changed the trajectory of my life, helped me feed my family. It was like digital college down at All Def. That one thing is true. Second thing is true. There is a lot of women in this world prior to my career there and after that had very different experiences with Russell and sexual assault.
So let me also say, because there are people who like to say things such as, well, that's not the person that I know. That's not the person that I am familiar with. Someone could be an angel to you and the devil to somebody else. And just because this person does not present themselves to you in a manner in which all other people are saying they are, doesn't negate that this person is a problem.
And his daughters aired him out in their own ways. His oldest daughter, Ming Lee, said Happy Father's Day to her mom. And her younger daughter, Aoki Lee Simmons, posted texts of Russ and a soundless or a video that was muted of him fussing. In the comments of her post, his post, and one of the common themes that I saw that I want to address was this should not be exposed in the public, right? People were telling his daughter, you need to take this down. This is private family business. One of her complaints, one of her alleges is that he creates this persona that's love and vibes and harmony and yoga and all that type of stuff. And then behind closed doors, he's hurtful and abusive and he attacks me, my mom, and my friends. And Black people, we jumped in the comments, not we, but there was Black people in the comments like, take this down. This is not how you handle this. Family business is family business, right? And here's what I want to say about this specifically part about the Black community. That ideology, right? Y'all ain't supposed to say that. Family business should be family business is how people end up abused. Physically, emotionally, sexually, keeping family business private and being afraid to talk about it or being chastised by older people in the community is why people are afraid to say stuff. And it's why people are often able to abuse people for long periods of time.
Having no HR gives room to abuse of power. And if the organization doesn't have enough staff to file a EEOC complaint, then where does that leave you? Like, if you don't have, I believe in most states, 15 employees and you're working off of a small organization like what I was working for, there was at any given time 4 employees. The rest contractors. Contractors don't have EEOC complaints, so there's that. So how does one who has issues with bullying, harassment, intimidation with no HR file a complaint? I feel like they created silos, both of them intentionally, because by creating the silos, you're able to be abusive. Be abusive because people are not going to be talking about the abuse that they're getting. No one knows. So I don't know that this person is having these types of encounters with you. I don't know that this person is also experiencing what I'm experiencing with you. So when you create the silos, you're able to be abusive. Just like in a physical relationship, they're going to want to isolate you from family and friends. That way they can do what they do and no one knows. No one sees the bruises. No one's able to compare notes. What she's saying to me is, shut up. You're making comments or have made comments about wanting to be happy in the workplace. And that's not what it's about. You're supposed to take your money and you're supposed to be quiet.
Her allegation is that he uses his personality on social media, and that's not who he is. If part of her allegation is that his personality that he portrays on social media isn't who he is, and he's actually abusive in private, then that personality needs to be destroyed on social media where it's created. This isn't a private person that we don't know. This is a persona that we've seen, love, harmony, yoga, all that stuff. And having other people be like, you need to be quiet. That ain't our business. That ain't our business. That's how people end up being hurt.
When in doubt, get out.
Yeah.
Like, do not stay in a place that is toxic, because it is going to just secretly start wreaking havoc on other areas of your life.
It's on seep in.
We are not required to deal with the boss because, you know, they're a jerk. The label of a boss is that most of them are a jerk and they're just trash, and it's giving, we gotta stop that. Like, that has to be eliminated from the vocabulary where it's okay for us to think that that behavior and title placed on them is acceptable. That label was what, and particularly for me, implanted in my head that I couldn't see beyond the fact that, girl, you are in a dangerous space.
In danger, girl.
Molly, you in danger, girl.
And listen, I can't protect the image of a person because that's what their version of me was, right? And I can't minimize what someone else's harm has been because that's not my experience. If I'm driving down the road and I hit somebody with a car, a person who didn't get hit by a car saying, well, he ain't never hit me, so couldn't have been him. That's not necessarily true, right? All that means is I didn't have that experience with him. That doesn't negate the experience his children have had with him, his ex-wife, and the women that accused him. And this is honestly, it's the same through line that you hear about men in power of both races. Well, he built hip hop. He was about to buy NBC. He was the originator of R&B. And they can also be terrible people.
Ursula thinks that because she talks like soft, that it makes the disrespect less disrespectful.
And we're supposed to be the example of how society is supposed to treat us.
Right.
Yet we're mistreating each other.
And it makes you look at, no disrespect, a lot of these nonprofit organizations crazy. You see how a lot of people are in the news for different things, but I'm learning more and more every day that a lot of this is really a facade.
And it's unfair to victims to absolve people because of the things they built. Because a lot of times people use what they've done, and other people use that same thing, what they've done for like immunity, right? It ends up being like immunity against these crimes. Well, they could have done. Well, we tearing our black men down. tearing our black men. Well, sometimes they are tearing the community down as well. And if we are the community, like, what does it show that little girl who's bearing her soul to this very public figure who has more power than her? What does it show her when people be like, you need to take this down? That ain't right. He built hip hop. He could. So
I thought that this would feel more personally rewarding because it's a community organization, and it's a Black organization that has a long, rich history. I think initially it was. Keyword, was.
Yeah.
I think the people that started it had a vision.
Right.
Right. And I believe they really stood on what they were about. I think all the people that donated money and propped it up, all the affluent performers, people associated with it, I think they had good intentions.
Right. People would try to shapeshift your intentions to be bad because it reflects or put a spotlight on the things that they're doing. And bad people do not like good people revealing their flaws, showing their evil ways. Me coming on YouTube does cast a brighter light on key players who initially was able to pretend like they didn't know what was happening.
We don't like, especially Black folk. Don't you talk about our Black men, because we are comparing it to what is happening in a more global sense, or what's happening in the nation to Black men by the police, by people in authority. And we feel as though, well, then the victims that are on a smaller level can't speak out because, you see what they do?
And I know the main question people keep asking, me in particular, is have the organization said anything to me? And the answer to that, in short, is you can't really argue the truth. It is my story to tell. My voice is my superpower. It is my ability to speak up and speak out about the things that matter to me, the things that I have gone through, about the things that have impacted me. And it's my right to do that. It's my right to share my experiences, share my story, share my journey, and not feel guilty about doing that because of what others may think or how it can make a person or organization or institution or a society look. I can't focus on what other people may think of me speaking. No one likes anyone talking, especially if what they're talking about shines a light on the behaviors that they're doing. No one is going to be able to tell me how I'm going to unpack, move forward with the experiences that I have gone through. If anyone finds that problematic, then your energy should be focused on the individuals who gave me something to speak about versus me speaking about my experiences.
We have to start holding people accountable on every single level. I think there's just this thing of not wanting to really clean house. We just really want the appearance of a clean house, but we'll let people be the consequence of the appearance.
So all of this is a farce to me. I see exactly what you're doing. So now you guys want to pay the person that was written up on the PIP to stay in a toxic environment that you know is toxic, but you need me. And as much as she'll say, if I'm being such a distraction and causing people so much anguish, I have no problem in stepping down, then ma'am, step down. Step down. But again, that's that gaslighting. I'm going to say the things, even though I have no intentions of actually doing it. Now, one thing Ursula is not going to do is take accountability. Sis will avoid it like it is the plague. Anything that happens is because of everyone else. This happened, because you guys hate me. You don't like me. You don't think I'm qualified. Her being under investigation was everybody else's doing. And it's like, no, ma'am. Your board chair decided that she was going to press play on that call and make the decision to have you investigated. Has nothing to do with the staff requesting to have a meeting to discuss your behavior. It's an interesting way to, again, spin narrative to not take accountability. Accountability would really reveal to folk that you're at fault, that you're not, living up to the standards in which you should when you are a leader.
Just because it happened don't mean it's right. Don't mean that people didn't have best intentions. Don't mean that it was wrong. Just because a lot of us were physically and verbally abused, we think it's okay just because it was normal. Right? Just because things are normal doesn't mean they're okay. Just because it was the status quo don't mean it's okay.
I had absolutely no idea in the beginning that I was even being bullied. There's this stigma of bosses being a jerk, just being buttholes. And that was kind of implanted in my head. So initially I was just thinking, you're just kind of going through workplace conflict and drama. I think the downfall of having that stigma out there is that it took me so long for my brain to adjust to what I was feeling emotionally, physically, encountering certain types of things with my boss, because I'm thinking everything that I'm encountering is just normal. I had gotten to the point where I really had to step back and say a lot of what I had endured for 6-7 years was just not acceptable.
Okay. Slavery not only was the status quo, it was legal. It was in the law. Just because something is legal or the status quo doesn't mean it's right.
Recommended.
Just maybe a slave owner was nice and he freed his people. It doesn't mean he himself wasn't also terrible and the rest of them weren't terrible. People love to pick the one example of something and excuse everything else they've done.
To have someone disrespect you, these are the reasons why we left corporate.
Right.
To come to a Black organization, what we felt would be a safe haven for us to not have to deal with the white supremacy that we dealt with in corporate America.
Right.
But when you see that they take pages out of that white supremacist book and weaponize their resources, their knowledge, their name, their whatever, to weaponize or status or position against fellow Black people, it really makes you question, okay, are y'all even pro-Black? Because that is really a day-to-day act. That is being mindful of how I talk to you. That is being accountable for how I treat you. That is being accountable for how we even work together, the environment I set, because I understand being the executive director of a Black organization is being front of mind, the environment you are setting for these Black people.
Right. What Nicole is not going to be is bought. Like, what in the modern day slavery is going on here?
No one has compassion for the person bold enough to speak up. It is easier to make people believe that they are not allowed to talk about what goes on behind closed doors. But that rule is about to be broken.
The world should have never gave me a camera.